Carlos Nelson with the Kansas City Business Association. Today, we have one of our business people on that sells insurance, Mr. A.L. Johnson at the A.L. Johnson Insurance Agency. All right. Hey, A.L., I've been knowing you for a minute. I met
Yes,
you
sir.
working out over there at Craig Price Center.
Right there on the treadmill. That's right. Yes, sir.
Right. Hey, Johnson, tell our audience a little bit about yourself. And as I tell everybody, you know the drill, go back to kindergarten.
Man, well, listen, I was born and raised here in Kansas City. I was actually born on the Kansas side, so don't hold that against me. But I've been in the life insurance business for the past 13 years. I love educating our community on financial products, ways that they can leave a legacy behind for their family. That's really what I do full time. In addition to that, I do have a nonprofit called Elevating Men. And the purpose of that is for us to really help our men become the best version of themselves so that we can rebuild our communities. Because I believe truly that all of that starts with the mindset of the men in the community. Strong men build strong families, and strong families build strong communities. And so that's what I do. That's what I do.
Hey, I love what you do. As I said, I've been knowing you for a minute. First time I ever went to your website was a couple of days ago, and it was really impressive as far as I'm concerned. I didn't get a chance to look at the conversation,
Yes, sir.
but you had a body of work that I'm pretty sure that they weren't frivolous conversations, and I think you crystal clear just now on what you do and how you do it. And the thing I like, you put a value on that. You feel that having those conversations are essential in bringing our community knowledge that will make them have better.
Hey, look, it's absolutely essential. It's just like what you're doing, Mr. Nelson. And I got to give you your flowers while I got the opportunity to. One, I appreciate being on your platform for sure. But what you built over the past 10 years is the epitome of consistency. We had an office right down from each other before the location one building was closed. And no matter how early I would come in or how late I would leave, you would be there and you would be working, whether you're doing interviews, creating content, helping other people with their businesses. And so, I mean, you're the epitome of it, really bringing the community together, educating and getting the information out that we need. And so definitely appreciate you for that.
Let's talk about business in general. I want to get to your business, but I want to have a general conversation. How hard do you find it is to run your business here in Kansas City, in our community? And do you think that the resources are there for you to are they made available to you? And small businesses like yourself, what's your feeling on it?
I believe the small business community in Kansas City is really thriving right now, to be honest with you. And it's from a resource perspective, it's about you getting out and opening your eyes because the resources are most definitely there. There's people like yourself who have platforms like What's Up Kansas City. There's the gift program. They've purchased a building over on a Prospect, I believe it is, where entrepreneurs can go in and have free office space. We have SCORE, which is a great small business resource. And so the resources are out there. I believe what the problem is that a lot of us want to get to the money without getting to the education first. And so when you hear those complaints of, this isn't here, that isn't here, I can't figure it out, it's because you're trying to get straight to the money without first educating yourself. So I believe that we have to seek more of the education.
Yeah. How do you feel that the financial resources, do you think that is readily available to small business?
I mean, again, it's all about education, and so I believe it's in Florida. I believe they just passed a law or some type of act where there's going to be financial literacy classes, placed in the high school curriculum. I believe that's critically important because we leave high school, sometimes even college, without having a solid financial educational background, and so we don't understand about building personal credit, let alone business credit. And so there's no one holding us back from that. There's a bank on every corner that's willing to lend money. That's how they make money. They've got to lend money. And so it's really about us having the education on the process to build that business credit so that we can get the resources that we need. There's grants that are available. There's never been a better time in history to start a business, in my opinion.
Let's talk a little bit about your business.
Yes, sir.
And because I believe financial literacy is the key to freedom. I'm one of Dr. Boyce's disciples. I believe that being financially aware of the opportunities that are out there can put you where you want to be. But if information pride is power, and
Right.
and most of us are powerless because of two things. We've grown up in this culture where we got to have it right now, and I don't know anything that you can get right now. If you want to work on the lottery, I didn't think you're going to get wealthy right now, or selling drugs, or doing all kinds. I've been through all of it. Consistency means long-term planning. You're in the insurance business. Let's segue into that. How do you see our community on the long-term planning in relation to insurance and the value of having insurance?
It's interesting. It's interesting. I can say I've been doing this for 13 years now. And so I've noticed a shift, I would say, over the past maybe 3 or 4 years where people are coming to me seemingly already somewhat educated. And so, I love that we have social media. It can be a blessing and a curse. It can be a time waster or it can be a knowledge builder, right? And so I am noticing more of our people coming a little more educated because the information is a little more accessible. When it comes to the long-term planning, I believe that's kind of where we fail. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, there are policies that build cash value and people are aware of that. And so sometimes I'll have people coming to me with that microwave kind of popcorn mentality that you talked about, where they're looking to purchase a policy and it benefit them immediately. They're not looking at the generational value. They're like, well, hey, how can I turn this into some money for me today? And so sometimes we have a little misconception on how that works and how it can really play out long term. But in general, I feel that a lot of us are waking up to the value of life insurance and how important it is. You got to think of how many people you open up the call paper in the obituary section. It's not just grandma and grandpa, right? You're seeing nieces and nephews and young people in there as well. And in fact, in my agency this year, we've paid more claims on people under the age of 30 than over the age of 30. Right. And so really starting to understand that if we aren't prepared, we're only setting ourselves up for failure. There's a cost that's associated with death. Sometimes we only look at funeral expenses, which on average is somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000. But really think about when someone in their 20s or 30s passes away and they have a child, there has to be money left behind to raise that child through adulthood. Say if someone who's purchased a home, right? You got a $200,000 home, you pass away, you done moved your family out of the hood and put them in the suburbs, you pass away, now no one can afford to keep up that home. Where does that put your family? And so, it's really about long-term planning. I do think that our mind is shifting towards that, but it's a process.
Well, tell me this, do you sell any other types of insurance?
No, I believe in being a specialist. So I don't sell car insurance. I don't sell health insurance. I'm not going to try to cover your home. There's so many different facets to life insurance that I believe to be effective and educating our community. I have to specialize. And so, whether it's term insurance, whole life insurance, universal life, I have the whole gamut. I represent multiple companies, and so I can cover virtually any health condition, but I 100% specialize in life insurance.
Tell me this. You say you've been selling for 13 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How do you feel sales and you received in the Black community?
I would say that sales have increased, especially the pandemic. That was a really big trigger for a lot of people when it just came to understanding that tomorrow isn't promised. To put it right in our faces, with so many people getting COVID, it even hit my family. My father passed away October 21st of 2020 from COVID-19, and so I believe that it really put it in our faces that hey, tomorrow isn't promised, and so it did spark a lot of activity in the life insurance industry. In fact, if you look, 2020 was actually a banner year for a lot of life insurance companies.
Uh, let's go back to that financial literacy. Are you working with any group of people or organizations with financial literacy with the younger people? See, I had been trying to put financial literacy, South Suburban basketball, got so many irons in the fire, having that's a kindergarten to eighth grade, participatory sport, and I wanted to make it if you played in the league, you had to be enrolled in the financial literacy program, and you had to be enrolled in having some mental health specialists because
I love that.
I think but again, with all the different things we're doing, and as I said, our community has been asleep for so long, getting individuals to participate where their reward is seeing their community and their youth gaining knowledge, but it's very hard if you're not going to pay them to participate and what have you. And I think businessmen like yourself and myself, we have to do a better job of recruiting other businessmen to participate in a financial way, especially if they're doing business in our community, for some of these educational platforms that need to be connected to our.
Yeah, it's extremely important. When you think about financial literacy, it has to be taught somewhere, right? And if the parent in the home was never educated, then you lose that immediate, person who's right there that should be able to teach that. And so then the second layer you have is the school. And unfortunately, in the inner city school districts, financial literacy is just not a part of the programming. And so I believe that's one thing that needs to change is we do need to implement some form of financial literacy into our schools so that they can get that information early. The earlier you get information and the longer you have to sit with it and process it, the better you are able to act on it. Right. The second part, I believe, too, is that our churches, I believe that that's one way that they can partner with business owners in the community because that's the hub. And I know that it's changed a little bit over time. My father was a pastor, and he used to talk about how back in the day, the church was the hub. You think about Martin Luther King and some of the other great pastors that were in the civil rights movement. The church is where they congregated not only for spiritual matters, but for community issues as well. And so I believe if some of our churches were to integrate financial literacy into their programming, we will be able to reach more people. But when it comes down to the individual, I believe that Black people have too much of an entertainment focused mindset. And so when you say that, hey, when it comes to financial literacy, everybody tunes out or nobody wants to listen, it's kind of a boring topic. Like nobody likes math, nobody wants to deal with numbers. Sometimes it's intimidating. And when it doesn't have that entertainment value, a lot of people in our community just shut off. Right. It's easier for me to say, hey, I'm going to throw a party, over on 63rd Street, and I can get people to come in, no problem. right? But if I say, hey, we're going to have a financial literacy summit, I'm biting my nails, wondering if anybody's going to show up. And so we have to get out of that entertainment mindset, and really start thinking, more towards building. We can still have fun. We can still do all of those things, but we have to take out that time for what really matters and what's important.
Well, I'm in concurrence with that because I'm in media, and I'm going to close out with this. That you have a closing, but I want my audience to listen up. Ever since the 7th century, Europeans have seized all forms of communication, and so you have been grown up, and I'm talking about the planet, on a viewpoint that is somebody else's viewpoint. And even when you go to school, you're being educated in a Eurocentric fashion. And media plays a major part on the planet. Media controls mind. I'm in the media business. When you look at the 6 o'clock news, the 5 o'clock news, and those people don't know any more than you. Someone sticks a piece of paper in front of them, and they read it all.
That's right.
Now, I want to talk to you about what AL just was talking about. The party, the glamour, the gold, the diamond, that these young hip-hoppers and what have you. Media is controlling their minds. Media is saying, look at this. This is what you should spend your money on. And that's what we're doing. When you're educated, you're doing different things with your money than buying gold, diamonds, the club. When I was in high school, most of my classmates had all their wealth on their back. When some of my, I grew up in New York in a Jewish neighborhood. My Jewish friends, when they grew up and graduated, they weren't having a car because they had saved their money. And we are not doing that in our community. It's too much fun in our community. There's too much entertainment in our community.
Well, you know what? It's a couple things with that. Like you really hit on a point there. So like when we talk about the media and the programming, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but his last name was Goebbels. He was in Hitler's regime. Goebbels, yeah. So he was the minister of what they call it, propaganda. And at the end of the day, they realized that television was a tool, right? And so they were able to put this imagery out to get their community to hate the Jews. So when it came time for the Holocaust, they stood back and they were like, hey, because they were programmed. And you remember that How to Sell the Negro? Have you ever seen that? Bob, Right. And so we love the glitz, we love the glamour, but I believe that a portion of that comes from this. So when we tie it back to financial literacy, a lot of people get their income tax, right? So some, they got children, they get $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 in one lump sum. And the reason we blow through it, I believe, is because we have a lack mentality. So it's kind of like the lottery winners. If you've ever seen that research study that says most people who win the lottery, this is millions of dollars, they run out in 7 to 10 years. How does that happen? It's because their mind is telling them this is my only opportunity. I hit the jackpot, so I need to get these things that I've been desiring all this time, and I need to get them right now. Right. And so they blow through all of that money. And I think that's where that comes from. We just have a lack mentality. We see the glitz and the glamour, and we get one opportunity to get it, and we blow everything on that. And now we're back at square one.
All right. So there was a key word you used, and it all comes down to programming. And not just Black people have been programmed, the world has been programmed. That's what I was talking about, the news and all the information that you get. Most of us are so dumbed down that we have these computers and have ways to verify, but we will not look up anything ourselves. We will look up some butt shaking. We will look up hip hop or entertainment in general. And And
Yeah.
those things doesn't move the needle forward. I want to touch on one other thing before we get off, because from a business standpoint, who you vote for is who you give your power to. The only thing that is going to change Black people's situation or any people's situation is politics. The laws rule the land. The 1% or 10%, they control corporate America. Corporate America controls the politicians. The politicians make the laws that have you handcuffed. The only way you can solve any of these issues are having politicians that represent your community represent your community. Because human nature is they will get in office. The first thing they will represent, and they have to, is corporate America. Then, if your community is not watching those politicians that are supposed to be representing you, they will represent themselves. Then they will represent the community. And all of that has to do with knowledge. And you get your knowledge at this point, a lot of it, off the internet, off of different platforms. Right. And it's very important to be knowledgeable. Did you know that someone spent about $170,000 to get a school board seat, from my understanding? Why would you do that when it's a non-paying position? But you would do that if you got a strategy to take over the Kansas City School District that has large budgets. And our community is asleep at the switch on these type things. And we're reactionary. And I think our businessmen, like yourself, that are woke, we have to do a better job of organizing ourselves, not depending on the city or some of these agencies that you talked about. You got SCORE and this, but they're all being funded by, and so therefore, anyone that is have their hand out getting funded, they have to pay attention to who's funding them and what their mission is. And I think, you know, with your agency, you have some drawbacks, but it's the same thing with Cascade. I don't really have my handouts, so I can be free on what I say and how I say it. And that's very important when you're trying to deliver your message, because we have everybody saying, I'm Black and I'm here to help you and this and that. But when you look behind it, who's paying you? And what agency are you working for? And what is their ultimate goal?
You're right. You are absolutely right. You know, at the end of the day, whoever controls the checkbook controls the narrative. You know, I see that in the nonprofit space a lot, you know, and so you set up your nonprofit and you have this particular mission, and then you start seeking funding to carry out that mission. Well, whoever writes that checkbook, they might say, hey, I need you to put the brakes on this or that program, or we're not funding you next year. And now you've got this office, you've got, you know, these possibly staff that you have to keep up with. And so now you've compromised the integrity of your mission just to try to keep some sort of business going. And so you're absolutely right. We do have to look at having our own resources within the business community of conscious individuals who understand the needs that we have, so that it doesn't compromise or mess with the integrity of the programming that we actually need. I agree with you 100%. 100%. You spot on.
On closing, what would you have to say to our audience and your closing statement?
Life insurance is important. It's extremely important. You know, let's stop valuing things over what can actually sustain our families long term. Life insurance is very affordable. It's a tool that can build generational wealth. And I want to help as many people as I can set their families up for that. You can find me at aljohnsongroup.com. On our website there, we have articles that explain life insurance, how it works, how it can protect your family, and it answers a lot of the common misconceptions that people have. And so visit the website, check it out. If you end up having any questions, there's a contact form there. You can also connect with me on Facebook if you just type in A.L. Johnson. That's my primary platform. I enjoy connecting with people there. And so, yeah, send me a message, connect with me. I'd love to help.
Hey, give them a pricing on, let's say, $10,000 minimum. What kind of policy? I'm saying whole life or term with that court. I'm saying that beats a blank.
I'm gonna be real with you.
Costs a lot of money.
I'm gonna be real with you, man. Life insurance don't cost hardly anything, especially when you're young and healthy. See, this is one of the things where a lot of people get thrown off because they hear a quote of a 70, 80-year-old person trying to get, if you get life insurance when you're young, it is extremely affordable. So, for example, say a newborn baby, right? A $50,000 policy lasts their entire life, bills, cash value, all those things. We're looking at less than $20 a month, right? And so your initial thinking is, well, I mean, they're a baby. They live to be 80. They're going to overpay. Nothing could be farther from the truth. I've done the calculations on it so many times. In total, you may spend about $20,000 if they live to be 80, 90 years old, right? But the payout to the family is $50,000. When you look at term insurance, that's the most affordable type of insurance. I just quoted a young lady before we got on. She's in her late 30s. She can get $100,000 worth of coverage on her, another $50,000 worth of coverage on her children for about $40 a month. Now, when you think about that, $40, right? That's a trip to McDonald's for a family. That's a night out at the movies. You can't even do a date for that much. You can't even buy a concert ticket for that much, but every concert that comes to Kansas City is sold out. So the money is there. We just have to reallocate it to what's important.
I know. When I was young, I had this $1 million Mutual of Omaha. They had sold me on a million. It was like going out to dinner what I was paying for that.
Right.
And we're talking about 40 years ago. Insurance is built this country. Most people don't even understand that.
Yeah, when the 2008 market crash happened, a lot of that money that was borrowed to revive the banks that had collapsed came from the insurance industry. Right. A lot of that money came from the insurance industry. And so as we saw mortgage companies fall and several other investment firms fall, the insurance companies remained strong. In fact, whenever there's an economic downturn, that's when we have to look into insurance even more because it provides those guarantees that are so needed during these times.
You hear that, community? Key word, guaranteed. When hard times hit, that's when you need your insurance.
Think about this, like there's several types of insurance, right? So you got your car insurance. You may or may not ever get in an accident, right? You need to keep it, definitely, but you may or may not get in an accident. You have homeowners insurance. Your house may never burn down, right? Life insurance is the only form of insurance that you're guaranteed to use at some point because everybody that's born will eventually check out of here. And so everybody needs life insurance.
All right. Fam, as we always close, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself.
This program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.